Welcome to the show. Model Man Frank here. How are y'all today? If you're in Florida, we're all dealing with Debbie over on the West Coast, over here off the West Coast of Florida. All of us here in Florida are dealing with some sort of rain. If you're in the Panhandle, you're still probably just getting outer bands. If you're on the east coast of Florida, you're not. I mean, you're dealing with the wind, but you're not dealing. You're probably just getting like not that much wind. But for us in Central Florida, we got a little bit of wind, a little bit of rain. Doesn't matter what side it comes on, we still get a lot of it. We'll get wind, we'll get rain, and depending on where the storm goes, we're still going to get wind and rain. So, tonight's show, we're going to talk a little bit about. I'm going to go a little bit off. Normally I talk about stuff that goes on in the shop, and I tell you guys, talk a little bit about aviation history. I didn't really have much to talk about in terms of aviation history. I figured we'd go down a different road of talking a little bit about some RC planes. Since as you can see here in the shop, I deal a lot with RC planes, and I thought it would be a fun show to do. So, for those of you watching us on playback, or if you're watching the show now, I really do appreciate it. Welcome, Peyton. I appreciate you joining. Thanks for joining the show tonight. To all of you, welcome to the show, and I hope you learned something. Maybe take something away from it. Maybe you learned something. Maybe I learned something together. This hobby is evolving constantly, and when you think you know it all about the hobby, it goes ahead and changes again, and you learn something new the next day. So it's a hobby that constantly changes. This is really why we all, are part of the hobby. So, sorry, I'm just reading your comment here, Peyton. Yeah, it's any minute like it doesn't every day. You're right about that. Yeah, moth farts and the power goes out. That's basically how it is in Florida. Or a butterfly. So, if you look over my shoulder, over my right hand shoulder here, you'll see that I'm working on a FoamBoard aircraft. I went on to Flight Test Forum, and I'll put a link in the description box below onto Flight Test Forum if you want to download some of their plans. They have some of their printable, like Master Series Warbird plans. You can download them onto a PDF file, and then you can print them out onto your printer, and then you can cut them out. When I was growing up, it was all Balsawood. You bought Balsawood kits, which were anywhere from $15 to, that would be like a Gillows kit, or $8 for a Gillows kit. That was cheap. All the way up to Byron kits, which were partially fiberglass, or Top Flight, which was Great Plains, Mustang, or P-38, or whatever. And it was gas-powered. Everything was gas-powered. We did have electric, but you had to fly on NICADs, and they were heavy. So if you wanted to get a lot of power out of your electric motor, you had to, depending on how many NICADs you had to power your electric motor. Most of the stuff was brushed motor technology, and I will get to your question, Peyton. I did see it. Do you have, his question, guys, do you have any recommendations? I'm thinking about building an RC airplane, keeping the budget under $200. I'll get to your question. We're gonna kind of go into it just a little bit here. So, and I'll get to your question in just a moment. So yeah, you got into Balsawood. Now I have Balsawood here, and I still build a lot of airplanes out of balsa. But balsa wood has gone up through price. So Byron kits would sell between $120 to $150, depending on what type of kit it was. Now a balsawood kit is more than $200, maybe $300 for a good kit. Gas-powered planes are kind of going away, and everybody's moving into electric motors. Brushless motors have more torque and more power, depending on how much power you get out of your battery. So, case in point, this is a 4-cell LiPo battery, and on this one I have 3300. This is a 3300 mAh, a 4-cell. This powers actually the A10. This powers both motors on the A10. I get about 3 minutes of flying time out of this. I do want to go up a little higher, so I'll probably go up to maybe a 4,000 or a 5,200, and maybe I can squeeze about 4 minutes out of this flight. It's a fun plane to fly, though. But yeah, that's how it goes with a lot of this stuff. The technology is constantly changing, and as battery technology evolves, that's why it's kind of funny, because every now and then we get solar power guys that come around selling solar panels for your house. I'm gonna go out a little bit on a little tangent here. It's really short. The reason, we've had our run-ins with the solar panel guys, and I've told them, no, I'm not interested in buying a solar panel for my house. The technology is constantly changing, and it's just not money. I don't see a cost savings in that aspect in the future. So when the technology has gotten so far advanced, that's when we'll go down that road. So, but that's what's going on with batteries. LiPo batteries, electric motors, and everything. We're going down this constant road. When I started flying when I was in my teens, I'm 50 years old now, so that dates me, it was one plane, one controller. So for every plane you had one controller. I had a Piper Cub from Great Plains. I had the electric Cub. I didn't put an electric motor in it, but what I did is I put a gas powered. I had an 029, .29 Enya engine. Great motor. It was a motor that I'm just looking at the chart, making sure I remember it was a 29, or I think it was a 09 motor. No, it was a 29 motor, .29, and it was an Enya, and it was a great motor. Started up really well. You had to learn how to balance out your gas and your mixture and how much air you were getting and things like that. And it was always a kind of finical thing to do. But most of our airplanes were Balsawood. I mean, FoamBoard was out. Foam was out, but the plane technology wasn't really there yet. So I had my my Great Plains Piper Cub. I had a SIG Senorita. I had a twin Mustang. I also had a fiberglass Tucano. And I had a couple of sailplanes. I had a Gentle Lady. I had a Schweitzer glider that somebody gave to me. At that point, I also had a Tri-Pacer. So I didn't have multiple radios for these planes, but I would interchange the radios back and forth. Depending on, I would take all the receiver out and change it to another plane so I could fly. But now you get something like this. This is my NX8 Spectrum. You're going to spend about maybe $500 for a radio like this. You can get Radio Master, which is just the same, but it's some people swear by Radio Master. I like Spectrum. They stand behind their product now. They used to not, but you can get downloads. You can also get them for the Radio Master. I like this radio specifically. You can hold almost up to 50 airplanes on one radio. That's completely bonkers, So But how many airplanes can you keep in a house? Hey Norm, welcome to the show. So 50 planes on a receiver, considering we went from technology where we had one radio for one aircraft, but you had to get different little crystals and stuff like that. So that's another conversation for later on. I'll go down that memory road. I'm sure you can go in a lot of the RC magazines from yesteryear and find out how many radios some guys had. So NX8, I like it. It's a good radio. So now technology is changing. Everybody's going now from balsawood, which has gotten really expensive. I mean, a sheet of balsa. I was at Hobby Lobby. A sheet of balsa, 3/16. Not 3/16. A quarter, like a 16th of an inch, is like $6. When I was in my teens and in my 20s and to my 30s, it was still like around, one sheet was like $1.49. Now it's gone through the roof. Because why? Fan blades that you use for wind generators have evolved to start using balsawood as balsawood cores. And that's driven the cost up. Also gasoline and all that sort of stuff. So now we have to have another medium to make our RC planes. Hence FoamBoard. I'm going to show you the plane that I'm building. So Peyton, what you were asking before, can you do it? The best way to do it would be downloading some plans and building your own plane. That's about the cheapest. If you want to stay under $200, this is where you're going to go. The only thing is you're going to have to find a controller. If I were me, buy brand new radio, spend the money to buy a brand new radio, because then you don't have to buy the radio once, and then you can buy as many servos and stuff like that. But if you wanted to buy a used one, take the risk, go ahead and look on Facebook Marketplace. I'm sure you can find one for around $200. But to really get into this hobby and you want to build your own stuff, use FoamBoard. If you can get another medium. What's nice about FoamBoard, so FoamBoard comes in all different sizes. This is a piece of FoamBoard. It comes with paper, so you can trace on it. And then you can peel off the paper. If you go to like a Dollar General, you can get this stuff, poster board for, okay, you have the controller for 172. You can use that also. You just need to get your receiver out. So yeah, you can use this for, you can get one FoamBoard board for like $1.25, $1.50. And you can get a lot of it. You can go to any art supply store and buy FoamBoard. And then you can peel the paper off, and once you peel the paper, the cheaper the FoamBoard, the easier the paper is to peel off. If you buy like FoamBoard from, let's say, Office Max or Office Depot, the FoamBoard's a little harder. I like that FoamBoard to make the bulkheads because it's a little stiffer and it'll hold better. The only thing is that it's really hard to pull the paper off. So, like to make wings and to make curvatures, like so on this, you want the FoamBoard that you can actually peel the paper off. You don't want to buy the stiff stuff. You want to buy the cheap stuff where you can peel the paper off. Because that way, you can manipulate the FoamBoard. This is the canopy for that aircraft. And you can make the canopy really, sorry, I thought it was going to fall. You can make the canopy a lot easier. You can apply a little bit of heat, or you can bend it on the side of the, like this one here. I'll show you. So this is bent, but you can actually curve it more once you peel the paper off. If you buy this stuff, which is the stuff you buy at Office Depot, it's stiff. It's really stiff and it's really hard. It actually crinkles. This stuff is better for bulkheads. So to make your formers and things like that. So that's what I did on this one here. is that on certain parts, like the foam, like, can you see it? Well, it's, yeah, you can see it here. So for like this stuff here, you can actually buy the stiff stuff for the formers and for your bulkheads. This was the interior piece for the bulkhead. Actually, I have a bulkhead here. I don't know where I did it with it. It's somewhere around here. But yeah, you can buy the formers. And then you can get your motor. Once you get all that done and you got your plane put together, you can put your radio, your transmitter, your receiver. This is a 6-channel receiver. Look how small the receivers have gotten. Like I said, I remember back in the day when I flew, when I was in my teens, these receivers were about that. They were actually about that big. They were bigger than this. Average receiver was maybe about bigger than this, about the size of this foam board up to about here. It was a lot bigger receiver. Now they've shrunken and they can hold all the stuff, and you can put 6 channels on this. You can put a lot more information on these little circuit boards than you can than the older stuff that we used to be able to play with. So this one's a 6-channel. So if you want to put like landing gear or flap control or put other mixing stuff, you can do that and buy the Spectrum one. Or you could buy Orange, which is by Hobby King, which is a little cheaper. It's like $16. Those are the lower of the lowers. Some guys like them, some guys don't. Everybody has their own preference. Lemon, which is Motion RC receivers. They are Spectrum. You can use them with Spectrum, or you can use them. They're DSMX compatible. You can buy those for as low as $17 for a receiver. These here, they go for about almost $70. Between $40 and $70 just for this thing. So, if you want to go down a cheaper route, buy Lemon. I haven't had a problem with my Lemon receiver, and I have one in the Spitfire up on top there. It works really well. It comes with telemetry and a lot of good stuff. So, if you have the controller for the 172, I would suggest learn to fly the 172 as much as you can, get as much as you can. But you're going to go into, I'll put the link in the description box below of this video. I will put a link to, if you want to download a set of plans, you can either go to Flight Test Forum, or you can go, on Flight Test Forum, you're going to have to sign up. It's free, just like if you join my Patreon page, it is free also. I'll have a link in the description box below here. And at my Patreon page, you'll have more links to other resources that can help you out. FoamBoard is the way to go now, guys. Balsawood is just getting way too expensive. You know what's really cool about foam is that you can pick up old kits. You know, people start passing their kits off. The problem is, you go on eBay, you're going to spend up to $300 on that. Sorry, I'm reading the descriptions. Now with FoamBoard, you can build any type of aircraft. Yeah, you can. So, as I'm getting to that, I went on to Flight Test Forum, and they have PDF plans to build a Mustang. So, what I do is I download the PDF plans. I'll stick them on a chip like this. I'll have like up to 100 different plans. And you can print them out. So, make sure you have ink in your printer when you do this. And make sure you have paper, because this is the sheet. If you can see it in the Again, I'll put a link in the description box below where you can find this specific plan sheet. You can also find a little easier kits. I would start, Peyton, if you're going to start off building, I would start with one of their really easy kits, like their easy flyers. You can find those on flighttestforum.com. Learn how to manipulate the foam board first, then get into the Master Series. This is the Master Series plane. This one here is a Master Series aircraft. And being that I have building skills from previous aircraft, it took me a little while to figure it out, but I was able to figure it out. But, like I said, you can download these plans, okay? And then once you print them out, everything will come... You have to cut the plans out. You have to tape it all together. And as a matter of fact, I'm building one here. I'm going to be, after I'm done with this aircraft here, the Hellcat, I'm going to build the next one. So I printed it all out, and then I started cutting and shaping. There's the form, the template for the next aircraft. This is going to be a MiG-3. And MiG-3 is going to be quite interesting. I'm going to paint it up in the Russian colors. You can spray paint these planes, which is very useful. You don't have to use monocoat, which on Balsawood you do. Though I have an answer for some Balsawood guys that still want to do the Balsawood, and you want to cut the cost down, buy yourself a roll of DocuLam. This is laminate for paper, for documents. I got this roll for $24. Look how thick it is. You want to heat your iron to apply this onto Balsawood. You want to heat your iron up to 120 degrees and just play with it. It will dry clear. It will come out clear once it goes on. Right now it's foggy, but once it goes on, it clears out. And then there is a video online. I think I'll talk about it next time on how to put this out, and you can actually, you can settle tissue paper over it and give it that old fogey style look to it. You can also, if you want to get monocoat, ultra coat, you can still get, but it's $20 a row. Just remember that. That's why FoamBoard is a little easier. You can get into the hobby a little cheaper and building your aircraft. And then, how big is it? I'm going to tell you that in just a moment, Peyton. Just bear with me one moment. So, you're gonna with FoamBoard, you can spray paint. You can go buy Krylon acrylic spray paints at Home Depot, and you can make your own freaking airplane, whatever color you want, which is really great, which is very, very cool. So, the Mustang you were asking, Peyton, wingspan on this one, the length of the aircraft is 41 inches. Wingspan is 48 inches. That's how big the wing on the Mustang is. If you're going to get into the FoamBoard stuff, you may want to go into get their MiG-3, which is easier to build. It's a little bit of a more speed build kit, and it'll be able to walk you through it. So some of the other stuff that I've gotten into, I have a lot of plans. When I got back into the hobby, I started kind of like building up a little bit of a plan kind of resource and said to myself, you know what? I really want to build the planes that I never really got to get to building when I was a younger kid. You know, I built my Cub, I built my Mustang, I built the Twin Mustang. Twin Mustang was a disaster, the first one. But I think I know what I'm doing this time, so I'll build another one. But I went online to outerzone.com.uk, /UK, and you can download plans from old model airplane kits. I'm actually going to show you one that I really want to get to and actually build. I'm going to get these plans probably blown up a little bit more. I want to build this is the Tiger Cat. It's a really slick looking airplane. You've probably seen some of my videos or some of my shorts showing the Tiger Cat. I've always wanted to build one. I've always wanted to fly one. I know it's a fast plane. The Tiger Cat, the F7F, was the last twin-engine, piston-powered aircraft that Grumman Aviation built. It was also the fastest. It was built as a fighter to fly in World War II. It missed the war by a couple of days. It had started flying in the war, but it never got deployed to the Pacific in time. If it would have been a real game changer if they had actually developed it a lot quicker. I think the war would have been a lot over. I'm sorry, the war would have ended a lot quicker in the Pacific if the Tiger Cat had come on, because this plane is fast. Top speed on a Tiger Cat, I believe, is like almost Mustang speed, which is 400 miles an hour. It's got a laminar flow wing, very short and stubby. It was a carrier-based aircraft. The Navy used them and the Marines used them. The Air Force did not use this aircraft. It flew in Korea, and it flew very well as a night fighter. So they used them in the night fighter role. It could keep up with jets. That's how fast this plane was. So it was a real game changer when it got into, if it had gotten into the war a little earlier. But I've always wanted to build one. So, I mean, looking at the plans, it's kind of straightforward. You need to have balsa. But I think I can build one out of foam board, and this would be one that I'm looking at building. The other one is, with the foam board Mustang, is building a A36, which is the attack version of the Mustang. When the first Mustangs came out, they were known as A36s. They were known as Apaches, and it was a different mock-up version of the Mustang. It didn't have as much power as the Mustang itself. It has, Peyton, if you get to watch this video on playback, and you can catch up with us on the next time. But thank you very much for joining in with us tonight. I really appreciate it. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button that you liked it. Have a good week, all right? Enjoy your week. We'll see you next Sunday. So, back to the A36. The A36 was the Mustang equivalent. I'm going to show you a picture here. I'm sorry I don't have many photos to show you guys. I should have scanned out these, but these are the plans for this particular aircraft. And nice big plans. And this one here, I'd like to build it in a foam board aircraft. The great thing about foam board is that you can build pretty much any aircraft. You just have to adapt the plans for them. So I've got a list of plans here that I'd like to adapt to it. I'm going to play around with it and try and get some of these. I've even got the twin Mustang in here, and that is one plane I really want to build. If anybody doesn't know very much about the twin Mustang was actually, it wasn't two P-51 Mustangs like many people think. It wasn't two P-51 Mustangs slapped together. The principle was behind that, but which later became it was the P-82 was the Mustang. It looked like it had two Mustangs put together, but basically what the P-82 was North American designed. They took the Mustang body, they lengthened it, and they made the scale a little bit bigger on the Mustang. Yes, they are two Allison Packard Merlin engines that power the aircraft. Yes, it is 4-bladed prop. But in the twin boom configuration, one person is the pilot on one side, and on the other side is the navigator or bombardier, or the guy who would operate the radar or the guns. So also the pilot had the option to operate also the flying and the guns also. but you had your radio operator in the other canopy while you flew the aircraft and so on. Both persons were separated, and the guy who operated the radar and other aspects of navigation and everything also was able to fly the aircraft if need be. So you would have dual control on some of these aircraft. The P-82, it was too late to really join the fight in World War II. It was technology from World War II. It rolled over into the Korean War. It was used in Korea as a night fighter. They didn't, I don't know too much about success, but I will do a podcast on it later in life. I do know that the aircraft was very good at night fighting. Carried a very large radar in the nose. I'm sorry, between the blades. As the blades were turning, you had this big bolt. I mean, this thing was huge. Just, it was a big radar that sat in the nose of the air in the twin section. It almost looked like a P-38. I'm not sure either. Also, if the aircraft was ever credited with shooting down a MiG-15, it was used mostly in the defensive roles and doing night attack runs on trails and things like that. It was used. It was developed as an escort fighter for B-29s and for long-range fighters, long-range bombers. I do apologize, but it's a unique plane. There's one flying in the United States. It was saved. A private group bought the aircraft, restored it, and has flown it to Oshkosh, I think once or twice already. The aircraft, I think you can see it in a museum, I think in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Don't quote me on that, but you can look it up and you can find out where the aircraft is. It is a unique airplane. It is not a Mustang. It is a different design. Yes, it looks like a Mustang, but it's not two Mustangs put together. It is basically a totally separate design of the Mustang. It is called the Twin Mustang for a reason, because it looks like a Mustang, but it's not the same frames. It was a totally different airframe and a totally new design. So I just want to get that clear. A lot of people say, oh, it's just two Mustangs put together. No, it's not. It's the body on the Mustang is a little shorter than this aircraft. The Mustang only had to deal with one engine. This thing has to deal with two large engines. So, FoamBoard is the next medium. Also, 3D printing is getting there. A lot of guys are getting into 3D printing. Now, I've been doing a lot of research on the 3D printing. It's wow. 3D printing is getting there. A lot of guys are going to 3D printing. You can buy a set of plans online for the 3D printer, like an airplane or something like that, for $20, $30. You can buy the file. Then you have to slice it, so you have to know how to do that. And then you print it out. Now, your PLA will cost you anywhere from $24, depending on what PLA you're buying, which is the plastic that comes out of the filament and prints out the part. Each part can take, you have to do one part at a time. You can't do multiple parts. Each part will go anywhere from 3 hours to 9 hours, depending on what part it is or what piece you're building. I think 3D printing is a new medium that's going to be coming out. A lot of guys that have done plastic models have moved over to the 3D printing. Gaming is using 3D printing. Everything is coming out with 3D printing. Printers can start as low, I've seen them as low as $50 new, all the way up to $2,000 to $3,000, depending on how fast you want your printer to be and what type of medium you're going to be doing and what type of printing you're going to do, depending on the file you're going to be making, things like that. Pretty soon there'll be a day where airplanes, large-scale airplanes, are 3D printed, which is amazing, but it could come that way in the future. So, FoamBoard, this way of doing airplanes is a new way that everybody, if you really want to get into building airplanes, this is the way to do it. And you can go and download plans, or you can buy plans. You can buy the kit from Flight Test. They have the board, the foam board. Their foam board is a little denser. It is actually hard stock like this. And they have videos and everything like that. They're a great resource on building airplanes. If you have plans like I do, look at building it yourself, a plane yourself. If you can get balsawood, or you have a stash of balsawood in your collection, great for you. I have balsawood here. I try and use as much as I can. I still have kits that are made of balsawood, but I still like to build in balsawood also. But you want to start getting... As a matter of fact, I have an older Mustang kit that I'm doing part balsa, part foam board. So I'm doing it kind of like a cross between, like a crossover of each, to see how it will come together. This is a Mustang that I started. It's got the bulkheads are plywood, and it's got some balsa wood in it. The stringers are balsa. This is just the fuselage. I started building it and I kind of stopped. I start and stop because I really want to learn how to foam the board, use the foam board. I think this will come out pretty good. I've got the wings. I made them out of balsa wood. I wanted them strong, so I've got the wings here also. But this is another avenue that you can do if you have foam board, and if you have foam board and balsa, you can do a cross between both. And I just wanted to see if I could build a model airplane that'd be cheap to build, and this would be another way to do so. So that's basically what I have in terms of that. The Mustang is coming out. I mean, the Hellcat's coming out pretty good. This way I did it is a little better. What I did is I built the wings first, and then I built the fuselage, the stringers for the fuselage, the inner core for the fuselage, and I attached the skeletal structure to the wings. And then I started skinning it, and as you can see, I'm also getting. You can see the servos are already getting inside installed, and I'll be going down even more so of a road with that. I'll keep you guys informed here on YouTube and on my Patreon page. You can follow me there. Again, Patreon, it's free to join. You can follow me there. And I'll put that information there on Patreon also. In the news, in terms of aviation, I don't know if anybody's been watching some of the aviation news. Apparently there was a pilot for, I think it was Frontier or Spirit Airlines, that got arrested. Had nothing to do with what was going on the plane. It was some domestic thing that happened. Also, overseas, there was a couple of airplane crashes that happened recently. I saw on Aviation 24 that there was a Malibu, I think it was a Piper Meridian, that crashed in the ocean. Everybody survived. That's a good thing. A lot of people were joking that, Piper Meridians don't make good seaplanes. Yeah, we do know that, but at least we're really happy that everybody got out of the plane, and the pilot did a good job landing the aircraft in the circumstances. Oshkosh is over with. People are starting to get back to work in terms of aviation for Oshkosh next year, and there's a lot more in aviation that's happening on a daily basis. Next week we're gonna talk. I'm gonna talk about a little bit about model airplanes, but before we get into the conversation of model aircraft, and it looks like you guys really like it when I talk about model airplanes and get into the nitty gritty of model airplanes, we're going to talk also about seaplanes. We're going to go down the seaplane route, specifically the Pan Am seaplanes, which aircraft that Pan Am used in the seaplane roles. We're going to talk about the Sikorsky's, the Boeing, and the Martin. Martin Aircraft built a lot of seaplanes. And what is the future of seaplanes? Are seaplanes making a comeback in military forces? Yes, they are. And I have some conversation that we'll be talking about. I have some inside knowledge of what's going on in the future with sea aircraft and sea aviation, airplanes that will be flying into the future with seaplanes. Very interesting enough. Building model seaplanes is really easy. You're building a boat. You can fly them. You can take them off the water. Great thing about FoamBoard, it's a medium you can use. You don't have to worry about it getting wet and expanding like on Balsawood. The big problem with Balsawood when it's cut, it's a tree, has a lot of water. It retains a lot of water. The fibers are it's very lightweight to be able to build model airplanes out of. But if it gets wet, it will expand like particle board. If you ever wet particle board, furniture gets wet, it expands. Seaplane, Balsawood is the same thing. If you get Balsawood wet, it'll just literally fall apart in your hands. So you got to be careful when you're building any model airplane that's going to be on water out of Balsawood. I think with FoamBoard, it's a little easier. It's more of a medium. You can manipulate a little easier, and you can fly it off the water. You can use tape or lam to cover it, and you can manipulate it a little easier. You can also use fiberglass on it. Fiberglass will adhere, and resin will adhere to FoamBoard and will adhere to foam in general. It'll make it super strong. Case in point, Boston Whalers, it's a foam core inner with laminations of multiple layers of fiberglass and resin. That's what makes the boat so strong. Boston Whaler, they pioneered that information. That was a big selling point, that you could cut a Boston Whaler, which is a boat, in half, and you can float for long periods of time. The boat was hard to sink. I had a Boston Whaler when I was a kid, so I everybody wanted to have a Boston Whaler around that time period. If you grew up in the 80s, you would see those a lot at the beach and things like that. Great boat to have. But yeah, it was a selling point. FoamBoard, you can manipulate it a little easier with a little bit of heat. You can really bend it and form it, and then you can also cover it with doculam or with the other items, and you can definitely use it on the water or on the ground. So for today, that's all I have for this show. Guys, I really appreciate you joining the conversation today. It was a great conversation about FoamBoard, a little bit about the model airplane thing. Again, next week we're going to talk about Martin Aviation and some of the seaplanes, a little bit of the history of the seaplanes, where seaplane technology came from, why seaplanes were built. We'll really get into it, maybe get a little longer on our conversation about that, and we'll really talk a lot about the seaplanes, where the seaplanes started, what happened to the seaplanes, and are they coming back? Again, we'll have this conversation next week. Guys, again, leave a thumbs up if you liked the video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and press the bell icon. You'll know when we go live. Every Sunday night at 7:30 p.m., I'm live here on this channel. If you're watching this on playback, I hope maybe in the future you're able to join us. Also, if you get a chance, follow me here on Patreon. All right? Follow me on Patreon so you'll be able to know what's going on in the show. You'll also be able to know what's going on with me, and we can have a more one-on-one conversation. If you have questions or things you want to talk about, I'm trying to make sure that I'm on there and posting stuff and updates on my model aviation hobby and whatever else I see, articles that I find on aviation wise that you guys may want to be interested in reading. It is free to join. You do not have to be a member. Just go on there, put your email address, a little bit of bio about you, and you can find me, Model Man Frank, right on Patreon. Okay? So, we'll see you guys next week, 7:30 p.m., 4:30 p.m. Pacific. If you're on the other side of the globe, I don't know what the time is in London. I'm sure, early in the morning, but you can watch this also on playback. Guys, thank you very much for joining. Have a great week. Hope it dries out for you real well. And we'll catch you on the next one. We'll see you next. Model Man Frank out. Talk to y'all later. See ya.